It's your boy Verse, and this is Open Mic with OTR Mike.
Shit,
Yeah, that's right. This is the show where the mic is open for any discussion.
feeling about OTR. I don't think we're done.
You try to find something that's going to be interesting. Then obviously on the Wednesday you got the actual show and then the overtime show.
Hold your head up and talk down to me. Listen, you do what you are instructed to do, okay? Look at me when I'm talking to you. And don't give me that pleasant look. That pleasant look. You don't know when you are instructed to do something. Now, you may do all this. Do you do this way at home? Well, why the hell do you come here and do it? It ain't gonna work here. Understand? And let me tell you something. With children, you don't know. You headed for trouble, boy. You better try to listen to somebody trying to help and save you. Okay? When grown folks tell you what to do, let me tell you, baby, I love you. But when you think you're grown, you see, who else have you seen do this? Well, where do you get this shit from? Just you, huh? Look at me when you talk to me. Look at me. Look at me straight. Hold your head up. Do you think 11 years old, you can do what you want to do? How you want to do it? Well, why you do it? Why you do it? Why you do it? You ain't wrong. Who have you seen do that? Let me tell you something, buddy. And let it stay over here. I'm going to tell you something. It ain't going to work here. You might get away with hold
Yo, what up, good people? It's your boy, OTR Mike. And let me be the first to welcome you to another episode of Open Mic with yours truly. That's right, man. This is the show where the mic is open for any discussion, no matter what it is, who it is, or where it is. And today will be no different. The clip that you just heard or watched, if you are live on YouTube with me right now, shout out to the crew that's in the chat right now. I will get to y'all in a second. That's what we're going to discuss today, right? But let me pay some bills as I always do. Look, man, if you want to be awesome, like some people in the chat already, Mr. Hendo, the host of the Road Pod, Brandon Bizell, also known as Ghost, and he and Big Reg got something great going on. So go over there and subscribe to those brothers, right? If you want to be awesome like them, as you can see above my head, you can join my Patreon. That's right. That's patreon.com. As Hendo says, /OTR Mike. There's some tiers there. If one suits you, join it. Of course, each tier has some benefits to it. There's also a free trial there. You can sign up 7 days, try it out. If you like it, cool. You stay. If not, you bounce. But everything that you put into the show or everything that you put into the Patreon goes into the show. But if nothing suits you there, I appreciate you just being here right now or listening to me if you are audio listening. So I appreciate you for that. Also, man, look, we are less than a week away from the Roundup meet and greet at Bus, Boys, and Poets. Okay? Less than a week away. All right. Tickets are still on sale. Okay. But let me tell you something. Don't wait till the last minute, man. Don't wait till the last minute. We had to hire security, so they will be bouncers at the door. We'll act like we don't know you if you show up. Okay? Nah, I'm just kidding. But get yourself a ticket, man. It's gonna be a grand time. It will be a live Q&A session with the fellas. There will be giveaways. There will be swag bags. There will be merch. There will be food. There will be drinks. There will be good company. It will just be an awesome, awesome time. Those people I talk about is myself. I talk about Hendo of the Road Pod. I talk about Jose and Brodney of Lunch Break Hot Take. I talk about Coach Evans of Sip to Tally Film and more Sip to Tally Films. And my man Chris, just joking of the Deep Cover Podcast. We will all be there live in the flesh. Come kick it with us, man, for a couple hours. I promise you, you will enjoy yourself. Now, if you want to get a ticket, all you have to do is go to Eventbrite, search up the Roundup meet and greet. You will find it. It will pop right up. Purchase a ticket. We will see it, and then we will see you on Friday. Okay. So I hope to see all of you there. All right. Less than a week away. Don't try it at the door. Okay. Don't try it at the door. I'm just saying prices go up quadruple at the door. Okay. All right. Bills are paid. So let's get it popping. Look, man, I am exhausted. Okay. Last night was a great boxing match. As you know, I am 1/3 of Ring Kings podcast. So of course, man, we go live, we stream after big fights like that. So we were streaming till about 2 a.m. Had to be up for work at about 6. So your boy's tired. But as I was sitting here about to take a nap, I remembered I don't have no episode loaded up for tomorrow. So I'm gonna get this one in. Let's be quick. And then we're gonna move on. I'm gonna take a nap. And then yeah, I'll get with y'all later. All right. All right. So look, man. Today's episode, I'm asking you guys, are old school grandmothers extinct? Okay. Now you may have missed the clip that I played from the beginning. Oh, hold on. Let me go back. I ain't get my shout outs. I forgot that I'm live. Bazel, of course, the first one in here all the time. What up, Bazel? My man Hendo in the building. He said, what do we have here? Yeah, man, another surprise live stream. Hendo. Yeah, bro. If you want to join Hendo, I know you look, man, you work hard. All right. So I know you want some time to chill and watch. That's cool. If you want to join, we can make that happen. Okay. But no pressure. All right. Jada 6 is in the building. He says, yo, what up, Jada 6? He also says somewhere in that there's a very cracked leather belt who has cut so many tails. You're right. You're right. Somewhere in that house. Okay, I see what you're saying. Living big with Big Reg in the building. You said, what's good, everybody? What up, Reg? What's popping with you, man? And let's see. I think that's everybody that's in here so far that has made themselves known. Everybody else that's checked in, I appreciate y'all, man. Let's get this in. So look, I'm gonna play this clip for you guys again. I started the show with the clip, but when I watched this clip, and this clip has been viral, I'm sure all of you guys have seen it, and I've been sitting on it for a while. I've been wanting to discuss it, but other things came up, and other episodes kind of bumped it. But I had it loaded, and I want to talk about it. And watching this clip, man, it just made me think of, the old school grandmas, right? The ones that just ain't take no smack, right? They demanded respect. The ones you couldn't play around with. The ones that'll whip your, you know what, if it came down to it. And it just seemed like those days may be over. Sad to say, right? So let me play this clip, man, so that y'all know exactly what I'm talking about, and then we'll go from there.
Hold your head up and talk down to me. Listen, you do what you are instructed to do, okay? Look at me when I'm talking to you. And don't give me that pleasant look. That pleasant look. You don't know when you are instructed to do something. Now, you may do all this. Do you do this way at home? Well, why in the hell do you come here and do it? It ain't gonna work here. Understand? And let me tell you something. With children, you don't know you headed for trouble, boy. You better try to listen to somebody trying to help and save you. Okay? When grown folks tell you what to do, let me tell you, baby, I love you. But when you think you're grown, you see, who else have you seen do this? Well, where you get this shit from? Just you, huh? Look at me when you talk to me. Look at me. Look at me straight. Hold your head up. Do you think 11 years old, you can do what you want to do? How you want to do it? Well, why you do it? Why you do it? Why you do it? You ain't wrong. Who have you seen do that? Let me tell you something, buddy. And let him stay over here. I'm going to tell you something. It ain't gonna work here. You might get away. Oh yeah.
Now, look, man, a couple of things about that clip that I want to point out. One, okay, did you guys see how immaculate her kitchen is? How clean grandma's kitchen is? Grandma's kitchen is always clean. And that clearly, it was so clean that clearly the kitchen was shut down for the day at that moment. Because you see, everything was nice. The stove was placed again, everything was set, so you better not cook. You better not touch that stove. Okay. Um, but another thing about it, man, in all seriousness, you see how she went up one side of him and came down the other, right? But she crossed and checked all the boxes there, right? She set the tone, right? She demanded respect by telling him to look at her in her face, sit up straight, look at me when I talk to you. She put the finger in his face. That lets him know she ain't playing no games. She about business, right? But she also threw in there that I love you, right? I love you, okay? But you better listen when grown folks is talking to you, right? And then you see she looked at whoever was filming. I'm assuming the parent, and she said, "Let him stay here. Let him stay here, cause they ain't gonna fly over here, right?" So yeah, man, like it just feels like, man, that just feels like 100 years ago. Seeing that type of stuff, man, it just feels like the old school grandmother is gone. It's sad to say, man, and it made me look deeper into why that may be, and that's what I'm gonna discuss. Right now, just about myself, like my grandmother, miss her dearly. My grandmother was all of 5 feet, but she packed a punch, and she would put that little fist up there like that, And my grandmother was like the sweetest person in the world, but like she just demanded respect. And we're used to them in that role. Grandmother's like the lady that we just watched, your grandmother, my grandmother. We're used to them being the rock of the family, right? And they take on so much. And a lot of the times in this situation, right, it appears, I'm just assuming because she was talking to somebody in the background and saying, "Look, let him stay here." I'm assuming that he doesn't stay there full time, right? But what has happened um, over the years is that grandmothers like that have had to step up and play multiple roles, right? If you understand what I'm saying. Um, and it's happened in all generations. So I don't want to point at, a lot of times, it's easy to just point the finger at the young generation. And that's why, because grandmother's got to step up and be grandma, mom, dad, and all of that, because, at a point in time, the teen pregnancy rates were high. So in return, you have younger, at times kids, having kids, right? Who they cannot take care of by themselves, right? So then you typically have a grandmother who has to step up and help in those situations, right? So I don't know, man. It just seems like, what was created now. Obviously, right, with what I just said, with the teen pregnancy rates being fairly high, right? Um, a lot of times that leads to a grandmother or a mother becoming a grandmother at a very, very young age, right? And then that sometimes sets a tone of, looking at your grandmother as your mom, right? And then we all know, right? You respected your mom, of course, right? You better respect your mom. But there was a pecking order, right? You respected your mom, but you might cut your eye sideways at your mom. You might talk under your breath at your mom when she tell you to, go clean your room, right? As you walking away, you say it real low so only you can hear it, right? But now, but you never cross that line with grandma. Grandma told you to go clean your room. You said yes, ma'am, or okay, and you went about your beeswax, right? Um, but it just seems like we've dropped a notch, right? It seems like moms are now grandmothers at such a young age, and now the kids, as you see in that picture, they may look at grandma's mom, so then they don't have that extra layer to go to, if that makes any sense, right? But there has been a huge effect on grandparents and having to step up in that role, right? Not just financially, but health wise, right? We are When they have to step into that role, obviously it adds the stress level. Um, and then as you get older, man, you don't want to be dealing with stress, right? You don't want to be dealing with stress, which can lead to health issues, right? And then 9 times out of 10, if you got a grandmother like the clip, she's retired, right? She should be able to retire and enjoy her retirement or collect Social Security because she earned it, right? But a lot of times finances won't cover taking in a child. We all know children are expensive, okay? So then that brings a financial burden to these grandparents, which is a whole nother side of stress, right? So look, man, we're gonna go down a little rabbit hole a little bit about this because y'all know, as my listeners, as y'all are here every week or every other week or whenever your boy records, you know how my mind starts to spin on situations like that. And then of course I gotta do my research, right? I gotta do my research. So look, let me get some comments. Let's see who else is in here. Hendo said, "This young generation, whew, yeah, they're a little different." Big Red said, "Man, listen, these kids these days need old school whoopings." I agree. Or they need old school talking to like that. Like I said, man, she broke that all the way down and she checked all the boxes, and somewhere in there she let him know that she still loves him, right? And she probably, you know, cooked him a nice meal or something like. Well, nah, I said the kitchen was closed because it was clean, but he probably ate well that day. All right, but let's discuss. Let's go a little further. Let's see what I got here. So it made me just think about you know grandmothers like her having to step up, right? And I found that this here was kind of, it's a little mind blowing, right? It says in the United States, about 2.55 million children live in a household with their grandmother and grandfather in 2022, right? 486,000 children under the age of 3 lived in a household where both a grandmother and grandfather were present. Okay, so that stat can be interpreted a couple ways. Like there's also a dynamic of the grandparent and grandmother being in the house because as they get older, they may move in with their children, right? So you have you see that more often now, right? You may move your mom or your father in due to age or just you got the space, or even you might have a young child and you need some help, so grandma is willing to move in and help with that, right? But then it was followed by this. Yet about 45% of children in grandparent maintained households lived with only a grandmother in 2012. In 2012, I'm sorry. African American children who lived with a grandparent were more likely to live with a grandmother. 7% of white and 14% of African American children lived with a grandparent. African American children are more likely to live in a household with a grandparent with no parents present than are white children. So it leads to what I said, like the burden that falls on these grandparents when they have to step up in these roles. Now, quick rewind, right? Bear with me. I'm tired. I can't talk right now, but quick rewind. I said that you can't really pinpoint and blame it on any generation, right? Um, but each generation had its own issues, right? Now, believe it or not, the first thing that we tend to look at is, like I said before, teen pregnancy rate. Believe it or not, teen pregnancy rates are at an all-time low right now, right? Believe it or not, I was even shocked myself. It was at its highest in, I believe, 1990, especially in the African American community. Um, but it has been on a slow decline, right? Um, but we point our finger at this young generation that Hendo talked about being wild. And we talked about them being the ones that are having the babies young, which listen, it has not gone away. The numbers are still higher than they should be, but they are considerably low. But each generation had its issue, right? Our parents' generation, they dealt with having kids young as well. Might not have been as likely, but it happened. But then you also back at a certain time, back in a certain era, you ran into other issues, drug issues, alcohol issues, things that caused the mother or father to not be present. And then you have a grandmother like such who had to step in and take care of the child, right? Now, the newer generations, right? I feel like it is pregnancy has something to do with it. As I said, causing us to, or causing people, especially grandmothers, to be younger and younger, right? So there is a trickle effect, so to speak, on that type of deal, right? As I spoke before, you have kids having kids who can't take care of their own kid. I don't know any grandparent that turns down, whether they can afford it or not, turns down stepping up in their grandchild's life because they know it's not their fault, right? Now, as I said before, the average age of becoming a grandparent is 50 for women, and a couple of years older for men, right? Now, the crazy part about that is the average age for African American women to become a grandmother is 43, right? Now, when we're talking about averages, that's a huge difference, right? That's a huge drop. And, I already pointed out some of the stats of which showed that how many kids are now living in, a grandparent led household, right? Especially for the black community, right? Now, let's see, hold up, what I got right here. Okay, so here we go, right? So keep in mind the age 43, right? Now, the number of grandparents caring for their grandchildren has doubled over the last 50 years. This constitutes approximately 2.7 million grandparent caregivers of children under the age of 18. Some 10% of all children live with a grandparent, right? Now, that typically leads to this side of it. Children living in a grandparent maintained household are more likely to be poor in comparison to children who live in a parent maintained household of children who do not live with the grandparent. As discussed below, lack of finances increases the risk of challenges to the grandparent's health, right? Now, remember, I spoke about health before and how taking on this extra role can affect the health, right? Now, I don't know, man. I don't want to ramble here. I don't want to, I don't want to just talk in circles here. Um, but something's missing, right? Something's missing. Now, obviously, like I said, the average age is 50, right? Now, we don't remember our grandmothers being 50, right? We remember our grandmothers being like the lady in the clip that I played, right? But like I said, that's an average age. But if you look at somebody, you know, the average age, especially in the African American community, being 43, right? I'm 41, right? My wife is 42, right? That means we're 1 to 2 years away from being grandparents. Now, what a wood at. Let me knock on wood because we definitely not ready for that. But by those averages, that's what that means. Now we like to say that we still, you know, hip and fly. I'll be honest, I'm not ready to be a grandparent. I'm sure my wife isn't either. Now, if we had to be, of course, we would do what we had to do. But we would obviously grandparent different than we than our grandparents did, right? And I think that's part of the trickle effect that leads to old school grandmothers being extinct, right? Now, you know, it's I think sometimes now, as I said before, we these kids now who are growing up in grandparent maintained houses, they kind of, they look at parents, as friends and then grandparents as parents. And I think that's a huge problem. So look, before I keep rambling, right? Let me see, and there you go. Hendo. Okay, so Hendo, I should have got you on here, bro. I should have got you on here. So look, let me ask you guys. Are old school grandparents extinct? Right? Or am I tripping? Right? Have we moved on past the old school grandparent? Am I just stuck in that time of era that I grew up in, right? Of the old school grandmother. Should I move on and understand that this is the new age grandmother, right? Or do I have a point here? Help me out. Now let me get some of these comments. Hendo says for some reason the guys want the children more and are getting custody more nowadays. Okay. Okay. Reg says to Hendo, that's because the women are getting way less mature. The female influences these days are all about being free and traveling, making money. Something. Ooh, okay. Okay, Reg. Okay, Reg. Hendo says 2 hour stream. Nah, bro. And Hendo then also says, I am a grandparent. And Hendo is a young grandparent, which is why I should have got him up on here. Ferris, what up, Ferris in the building? He says, yes, Mike, they are. Old school grandparents are extinct. My man Jared Green in the building. He said, what up, bro? What up, Jared? What's popping, man? So, like I said, man, it's just hard to wrap my head around that. Now, my grandparents have been gone for some time now. And don't get me wrong, I want to say this. There are still some old school like grandparents, even if they're younger. One in particular, my sister, right? My sister she still has that old school way of grandparenting, even though she's not 60, 65, 70, whatever the case may be. So she still holds it down. She still demands respect, but she finds a balance in keeping it young and keeping it hip to understanding these kids nowadays, but they know that she ain't playing no games. When grandma is called, my nieces and nephews know the game. She ain't playing no games. My mother-in-law, she's the same way. Has an old school approach to grandparenting. She don't play no games. She don't play them games. Like from the protection standpoint, she'll protect all of her grandkids like no other, right? And she's going to cross check and make sure everybody's good, no matter what, you know. So I get it. It's still there, right? But then part of me wonders if it's fair, right? Because if they're being forced into grandparenthood at a younger age, like I said, at 43, then um, is it fair that they can't live their best life? Now hold on, mystery. My door's ringing. What the? Gotta get the door. Hold on, one quick. This is crazy. In the middle of a stream. Now that was crazy, but I appreciate y'all hanging in there. Oh Lord have mercy. So where was I at, man? Let's see. Mess me all up. Okay. All right, let's go ahead with it. In 1970, right? Only about 3% of children lived in a grandparent maintained household. By 1990, this had increased to 5%. I'm out of breath because I ran down the steps. The end. So look, man. Now that this stream has taken a different turn, lost my train of thought. But I got y'all in here. So help me out. What, in your opinion, Hendo, Ferris, Reg, Jared, what's the cause to, in your opinions, to old school grandmothers being extinct? What do you think led to it? What do you think is the root cause to it? Because I'm gonna be honest with y'all. I instantly thought and jumped to teen pregnancy, right? And I found some stuff that really hasn't, it really doesn't prove that argument. I'm actually wrong. Here's a chart that I pulled up, right? as you can see, the steady decline in the teen pregnancy rates, right? I think that's 1990 where it was through the roof. The blue line is African American, purple is Hispanic. So you see the difference in the different communities. Um, but you see the black and brown community was high. Now it's low, but it's still, the top, right? It's still one of the highest in the black and brown community, but it's lower. So I don't know if that dispels my point that it was teen pregnancy. So I mean, I can't put a finger on it exactly, but I know that it's different, and I know the times have changed, and I know, um, I mean, I know. So this is okay. This is the confusion for me. There is obviously, right? The average age of grandparent, as I showed, 43, especially in the black and brown community. It's a reason for that, right? So that shows that grandparents or women are becoming grandmothers at a much younger clip than the national average, right? So in order for that to happen, there has to be children born younger, right? Or by teenage parents, or it could have been the start of that person who is becoming a grandmother having her children young, right? So it comes from somewhere, but if the teenage pregnancy rates are dropping, what do we look to for answers in this situation? Brazel says the community changed. Okay. What you mean by that, Brazel? Societal changes and people becoming grandparents before 30. Okay. Red says early pregnancy and the change of attitude and discipline in our youth. Okay. Okay. Hendo says, and some parents wanting to be friends with their kids instead of parents. Whew. Yeah. Yeah. And I think because there is, a lot of young parents now, I think they kind of feel like they have to be, right? Or does it happen naturally? Does it happen naturally that you feel like you have to be, I guess, cool with your kids, right? Now, after thinking about it, right, and looking at the stats and showing the decline in teen pregnancy today, and then looking at the stats and showing that the average age is 43. What it looks like to me is a trend, right? That has started in some families, and a lot of times the children follow suit. So then you have this, right? Compared with young women with no family history of teenage births, young women whose sister had a teenage birth and those whose sister and mother both had teenage birth were significantly more likely to experience a teenage pregnancy. Young women who had only a sister who had a teenage birth had greater odds of pregnancy than young women who only had a mother who had a teenage birth. Having both a mother and sister who had a teenage birth was independently associated with the elevated risk of pregnancy. So it looks like the trend started further back, right? Maybe with the new grandparent, right? Um, who may have given birth as a teenager. Um, According to those studies, it shows that, you know, teenage girls follow suit of what they see, so to speak, or in layman's terms, right? If they see a sister, right, who has a child as a teenager, they are more likely to follow suit. Now, if they see a mother who had them as a teenager, they are likely to follow suit as well. And if they see both, like the numbers are through the roof in that case, right? So it just seems like that may be the root cause in the loss of the old school grandmother, right? Um, and then I don't know, guys. Listen. It's a difficult thing to wrap your head around because there are some misleading stats here, right? And then I don't want to seem like I'm pointing the finger at anybody as the cause of this, but at the end of the day, we know that things have changed in the community, especially the black and brown community. Bazel says it was no longer a village. People can't talk to their children when they wilding out. This is true. Reg says young parents don't exactly know how to demand respect from their children because they are still trying to live a life much like the one they took. Boy, Reg, Reg, you on fire, bro. You on fire, bro. But this is true. This is true. Um, so what do we do? Or is it over? Can we get the old school grandparent back? Or are those days done for? Because I think this community is this generation is sorely missing that old school voice. Now, don't get me wrong, this generation is a lot more vocal, right? They're a lot more vocal and willing to stand up for their feelings, their thoughts, and it's a good thing, right? You want our kids to be willing to speak their feelings and stand up for what they believe in and share their thoughts and feelings, right? Um, but they're also I think they also take that a little out of context. Like you could do that and be respectful, right? There's still a fine line of you know who's in charge of those situations, right? Um, and I think that's lost. But I think the old school grandmother um, was there to level that out, right? I think they were there to level that out when we got out of pocket a little bit, you know, and our mom or our parents ain't feel like dealing with it, or they felt like they was talking to a wall. Our grandparents, specifically our grandmothers, were there to set it straight. Um, so I don't know, y'all. This is a cluster of an episode because I got thrown off because the door rang and I had to get the door, and I'm tired and all of that and above. But I hope this episode made some kind of sense. I'm probably not gonna release this on the audio version, so this will just be for my YouTube watchers because yeah, I feel like I'm all over the place. Y'all tell me if I'm all over the place. Am I making sense, Reg, Bazel, Hendo? I feel like I just lost this episode. But y'all know what I was trying to say, right? Y'all know what my point was. Like the old school grandparents are extinct, and we miss them very, very much, and we need them, right? We need them, and those of us that still had the old school grandparents who were taking care, not even just still the old school grandparents. Let's do it this way. Those of us um, who or the kids now, right, who are living in grandparent led homes, you know, it's our duty to make sure they know the importance of taking care of said grandparent. I don't care how old they are, right? I don't care how old they are. I don't care if they 43 or 63 or 73, right? From the stats that I ran that I rambled through, clearly it shows that it's a huge burden on these grandparents that are stepping up into these roles, right? Um, and sometimes these grandparents have to step into that role from unfortunate circumstances. It might be death, um, you know, of their child. and they had to step up and take care of the grandkids. A lot of times, too, also, it is just, as Rash said, you know, immature parents who not choosing to do what they supposed to do, and therefore it leads to none other than a grandparent, specifically grandmother, stepping up. Jet Jacks, I am not taking phone calls. But what you got, bro? You can put it in the chat. What you got? What you got to get off your chest, bro? Off your chest. We can talk about it. But specifically, the grandmothers. And it is a burden, right? Financial burden. Okay. Kids aren't cheap. Okay. So we have to get the message across of taking care of these women or these grandmothers who are now leading these households of young children, specifically under the age of 18. Okay. We know financial burdens can lead to stress. Stress can lead to health issues. Living in, not so great environments or circumstances, it can be trying on anybody. So just imagine a grandmother. So we got to kind of get that out there to these young boys and girls, that we got to take care of the caring grandmothers, no matter how young they are, so that they can live long and old, to be like this lady here and be able to continue to have that old school feel, that old school grandmother that we also covet and that we need. So we got to take care of them now so they can live to be this way.
Hold your head up and talk down to me. Listen, you do what you are instructed to do, okay? Look at me when I'm talking to you. And don't give me that pleasant look. That pleasant look. You don't know when you are instructed to do something. Now, you may do all this. Do this way at home? Well, why in the hell do you come here and do it? It ain't gonna work here. Understand? And let me tell you something. With children, you don't know. You headed for trouble, boy. You better try to listen to somebody trying to help and save you. Okay? When grown folks tell you what to do, let me tell you, baby, I love you. But when you think you're grown, you see.
Let me tell you, baby, I love you. And she got in his behind. So we have to be able to take care of those. Okay, let's see. First of all, let me shout out Jack, what up? Thanks for tuning in. Rave Kingdom in the building. What up, bro? Jack says, I think the Most High gave us order for a reason. And she, the old school grandmother, is dying off because the old school grandfather let the community go to hell. Okay. Also says she can't take care of the house because what happens in the house has been override by the degenerate black male culture. I'm in the schools. These boys are for the streets. Okay. I respect your opinion. So, okay. So you're of the opinion that, and listen, no, whether it's a single mother, single grandmother, should be taking on a household by themselves, period. So I agree with you there. They can't lead. They shouldn't have to lead a household by themselves. I don't think that means they can't be the rock of the family, right? I don't think that means that they can't be the steadying force of the family. I don't think that means that they can't be the wise wisdom and checking, as we seen that young man just receive, of the family. But I agree. And that goes to the burden, of taking care of any child by yourself, whether you're a single mom, let alone being a single grandmother or a grandmother by yourself, up in age, right? So um it's tough. And Jax just said, I think a grandmother can't battle the streets. Yeah, it's a it is an uphill battle. And I'll say this to your point. Um, they can battle the streets, right? But it has to be, um how can I put it? It has to be a concerted effort, right, from everybody. And I think that goes back to Bazel's comment about community not being the same. You can't nowadays you can't check a person's kid for acting up like you used to be able back in the day, right? Um, Jax just says it's not her job. It's our job as men to make the streets clean. I'm with you. I am with you. I do not disagree with anything that you're saying. Um, but I do think there's a missing role of the old school grandmother. I do think that's still there. We can't expect the missing, that old school grandmother to fight the streets, and damn sure can't expect them to fight the streets by themselves. But um, we're missing that old school rock. I know. Speaking of my own family, once my grandmother passed off, like things changed within the family, the structure, the dynamic changed. And I hold that to her. She held a lot of things together, and I think strong grandmothers, strong grandparents, period, hold a lot of things together. Jax also says, I've seen boys with great family structures get sucked into the streets. Um, they there, but the streets too powerful. Okay, Jet. You see, hold on, let me put this on the street. I mean, on the screen for you, real quick. Where's it at? Jet, see my social medias, man. Follow me there, man. Send me a message. Maybe we can get together and rap a taste about this. You say that you're in the schools, and that's a perspective that I'm in the schools too. So we might share some similarities in what we see in these schools, and how we see these boys getting sucked into the streets, even with good family structures and all of the above. So hit me there, man. Follow me on any of those and send me a DM, and we could chat. Maybe we could chat about it. You know what I mean? Maybe you can come on. I don't know if you're willing to do that, but maybe we can further this discussion and chat about it. Okay. But Jet, let me ask you this: do you think? I don't know when you tuned in, but I showed a stat that the average age for a grandparent or grandmother specifically is 50. It's 43 in the Black and brown community. Do you think parents being younger and younger, grandparents being younger and younger, has played a role in all of the destruction that you speak of that's going on in the streets and with our young boys and our young girls? Do you think that do you think they kind of run hand in hand? And do you think that's where we started to lose that connection, right? Or that stronghold that we had on our kids? But yeah, man, it's y'all know me. I like to have fun, especially my live streams. I like to have fun live streams, fun discussions. But I've been sitting on this one for a while, and I had to get it off. I had to speak on this and discuss it. I do agree with what Jax Jet is saying. In so many ways, they cannot do it by themselves. But the fact of the matter is, There is a huge um, number of our kids who are living in grandparent, specifically grandmother led homes. And that's nothing, we can't do nothing about that, right? We have to take hold of what's in front of us, right? And, we have to do something about that. I do know that, you know, as I've been saying all show, the importance of that type of rock in the family, it goes a long way. And if we're losing that, we got to stop it somewhere, right? And uh, I believe personally that we got to stop it and trying to relieve some of the burden, and helping these kids understand the type of burden that it can be, um, when somebody stepping in and playing multiple roles for you. Big Red said, it's truly the leading cause. If mom and dad can spend all their time in the streets, then the kids feel like they can too. Good point, Reg. Good point. So they take hold of what they see, right? And I think that's part of my point with the old school grandparent households, right? Um, you see that. You see that structure. You see how they function. You see how they demand respect. You see how, um, they show strength in so many ways. Um, you know, you absorb that. You know what I'm saying? You absorb those things. A lot of these time, these kids, like y'all points are that they are products of their environment. They're products of what they see, right? Um, and then sometimes, again, if we talk about, I keep harping on this, but if we talk about the age and how young these parents are or these grandparents are becoming, right? They can't stay home. They got to work. So if they got to step up and play this role and then have this extra role, like, they got to work. They got to be able to pay their bills. They got to be able to put a roof over their head and their grandchildren's head who are living with them now. So there is a dynamic of, that part being missing of, not being able to, as Jet said, being able to protect them from the streets because I'm working 10-hour shifts. So there's a block there of when I'm not home to see what's going on. And I think that ultimately leads to it being the single grandparent / single mom, household type deal. And then back to the point of Bazelmi and Hendo said about the community stepping up like it used to be. I don't feel good about this conversation because it just doesn't seem like there's a fix to it. But I'm optimistic that there's something that can be done. Um, and hopefully we find that that's something. I suggest we support the grandmothers who are in those situations now, help them out the best way that we can, and educate these kids on the importance of having a strong grandparent, specifically grandmother, especially grandmothers. And don't get me wrong, grandfathers are important too. That's a whole nother conversation of talking about the role that the grandfather played in the household, right? But here we're talking about the caregiver side of it. And the grandmothers usually play that role of caregivers in situations when they have to take on multiple roles within their household for their grandchildren. So look, man, I think that's it. All right. All right, look, let me apologize to y'all. Let's run this down real quick. One, I'm tired, right? I'm coming off of 2 hours, 3 hours sleep, right? So I'm not talking well right now. Two, my doorbell rang and I had to stop midstream. And I'm live. If it was just me recording, I could have hit, all right, boom, all right, yeah, edit that out. I'm live. And it happened. right? So I appreciate y'all kicking in with me. I felt like I was rambling a little bit here, but I do think this is an important topic. And maybe when I get my head right, I'll come back and maybe Jax Jet joins me. Maybe Hendo joins me. Maybe Reg, you join me because Reg, you had some very, very good points on this topic as well. So maybe when I get my head together, we come back and tackle this the right way. But I hope y'all get the gist of what I was trying to point out here in this episode when I say our old school grandmothers extinct. Now, let's see. Friday, right? Friday. What's today? Today is July 30th, right? Friday, August 4th. I hope to see y'all there, man. Less than a week away, couple days away. I hope to see y'all in the building. I really do. Right? I want to meet a lot of y'all. I know I'm gonna get to meet my man Reg. He gonna be there. My man Bazel, he gonna be there. You know, I hope I get to meet y'all. But look, for those of you that have not heard, man, there's a meet and greet. The Ravens, or not even I ain't call them Ravens. The Roundup meet and greet. And that is myself, Hendo, Coach Evans, Chris just joking, B and Jose. We will be at Busboys and Poets in Columbia, man, for a good time, man. Live Q&A, food, drinks, giveaways, swag bags, music, food, drinks, all of that. If I ain't say that already. But yeah, man. So I hope to see y'all there, man. If you want to go, tickets will be in the link of this, the description of this once this ends, or you can go to Eventbrite and search up the Roundup meet and greet, and you will find us. It will pop up. Okay. So like Hendo said right here, and get those tickets. All right, get those tickets. We want to see y'all there. All right. So look, man, that's another episode of Open Mic. I appreciate y'all. I appreciate y'all ride with me on this one. Yeah, it's a bit of a cluster, but I appreciate y'all. Appreciate y'all, man. Y'all support is amazing. So I appreciate y'all. I'm gonna get out of here. I'm sure Hendo, you rocking tonight. It's Sunday, bro. I'm sure Hendo or somebody else will be going live soon. So there's plenty of content on here for you guys to check out. If you haven't subscribed, please do that. Try and get my numbers up. If you're an audio listener, I'm on all your favorite platforms, your favorite streaming platforms. I'm there. Check me out there. Follow me on the social medias as you can see. OTR_Mike on Twitter and TikTok. OTR_Mike_ on Instagram. That's where I'm at. That's where you can reach me. That's where we can conversate. That's where we can politic a little bit. All right. Bazel said, hey, I can't wait for Friday. Fair said Friday is finna be fun. Sure is. And Bazel said me and Hendo doing the stream together. Here we go. Reg, you ain't booked your hotel yet, bruh? Yeah, man, we got recommendations, man. Holla at us in the Discord, man. We got you. We got you. All right, man. I'm gonna holla at y'all, man. Y'all have a good one. Enjoy y'all week. Be strong this week. I'm gonna holla at y'all. Peace.